Where Louisville is going to have to make up the margin for these 5 losses early is by beating every one of the Miamis, Boston Colleges, the Cows. They
can't slip up.
Be a challenge.
Can't slip up once.
Right.
We are back for a live and in-person edition. What we call this IRL.
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 Of the Starting 502 podcast. Press Meyer. To my right, to your left is Jacob Lane. To my left and your right is Roman Kelly. We are here in the Kearns Corner, makeshift Kearns Corner studio. Next episode we have, probably. We'll be live.
Yeah.
And in person at, are we ready to talk about this?
Let's
talk about this?
Yeah.
At Derby City Gaming downtown.
Let's go.
So, if you're looking for something to do before or after the Florida State game, we will be there.
Come hang out.
Derby City Gaming. Come hang out with us. It's going to be fantastic. We are so pumped, excited for the partnership. So, but we have
going in there to make some money.
Yeah, that's
make
right.
Some money.
Yeah.
Watch Louisville win.
That's right.
It's going to be a great day.
It is.
We're going to
be
be
a fun
downtown. Going to have some beers.
Mm-hmm.
Downtown beers here different. I
They
don't know
do.
If y'all know this. That's just an official
Yeah,
thing.
especially this
Downtown
time
beers.
of year.
Yeah, downtown beers. Oh, in the winter when you get inside.
Yep.
Yes, give me a downtown beer. So the beers are going to hit, and then we're going to go to a really cool venue, and we're going to do some, I don't know what the right phrase is, so I'm just going to not use the gamble or betting word. We're going to do some fun stuff.
Yeah.
Right? And then we're
some
going to
responsible gaming.
We're going to, yes, responsible gaming. Thank you.
We're going to push some buttons, pull some levers.
Yeah. And we're going to do so, like a couple 100 feet from the center.
Yeah.
Despite the game is an away game still, but that makes it more the reason.
We're in the spirit.
The whole point, right, is Derby City Gaming is a great place to go and watch a game, have some fun, get some liquor in you if you choose to do so, and participate in some gaming responsibly.
Mm-hmm.
So we're excited about that.
Right.
But we do want to talk about yesterday.
Yeah.
Kentucky, Louisville. I don't know. It's hard for me to. I hate Kentucky so much. I do. But at the end of the day, I came away pretty impressed with this team. And if you're a Kentucky fan, I saw a lot of reasonably minded Kentucky fans kind of upset after the game because, I mean, look, Kentucky was basically playing the same 5.5 guys for the last 13, 14 minutes of the game.
Right.
And they could not pull away. Like, it was a close game until probably a minute left in the game when Louisville had to foul. And Louisville, they had, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think they had their legs towards the end of the game, right? But,
yeah.
Ultimately, I came away really impressed and probably the least upset I've ever been about a loss to Kentucky in any sport.
That's facts. And it felt like, I don't know if you all felt this way, but for me, despite the slow start, like I initially thought, okay, here we go. They're going to get, blown out of the gym. They go to the under 16-minute timeout and they're down by 10 plus already at that point. It was like, it's just a matter of time before this gets off the rails. But I knew that Pat Kelsey understood the assignment and is the guy for this rivalry based off of how he coached the rest of that point on.
Yeah.
My man coached his fucking ass off.
He did.
Like, coached his ass off.
He did.
And look, man, Lamont Butler doesn't play in that game, and it's a completely different outcome because that's really, I mean, it was exclusively him in the second half of that game. I mean, I think he had 18 or 20 points in the second half, but Kentucky didn't necessarily play a great game. They didn't play a bad game by any means, but Louisville was able to kind of go tit for tat for them majority of the game.
Pat Kelsey was able to find a lot of the ways in which he could have his own little manipulation on the game, right? Mm-hmm. He found a lot of different sets that brought the bigs out of the interior, got the bigs onto the guards or to the people who were a little bit faster with the ball. Javon Hadley, Terrence Edwards, they had these big men on them and they were shooting a lot of jumpers, but that they were trying to create space on the court, open up the paint, get the Kentucky defenders moving more, and just kind of make them uncomfortable while they were defending. And for a lot of the game, they did that. Now, we're going to get into the defensive performance that Louisville put up, which in some ways was good, and in some ways it was very, very not what we had seen. Right? The off-ball defending, the, I want to say lack of awareness that we had at a lot of moments. I feel like just little mini defensive breakdowns that one cut, a second person cuts, and now that second person cutting is got the beat on their man, and they're in the paint with the wide receiving a pass.
Yeah, I mean, Kentucky won this game for two reasons. Number one, it was the fact that Louisville did not have the manpower to slow the game down at times, especially in the first half. Kentucky did a great job of speeding things up. 16-2 on fast break fast break points, and the fast breaks weren't. It was so weird. Like Louisville turned the ball over one time, and Kentucky had 16 fast break points. Think about that.
Yeah, but it was Otega-Owa almost exclusively on fast breaks. It
Yeah.
felt like he dunked the ball 15 times in that game yesterday, and it was always like at the most crucial of times that he would find a way to get a loose ball. And like you said, it was weird. It wasn't turnovers.
Long rebound.
Long rebound, runouts, just deflections, things. I mean, it's
they created transitions in normal possessions just
Yeah.
because they streak up the court a little bit faster than we were.
And we're so used to UK too, like the juxtaposition that they're in from a roster standpoint. We're so used to them playing a million miles an hour with 5 freshmen. I mean, they essentially just played street ball for 11 years. You know? Like, I mean, obviously the dribble drive is a great offensive system, but in terms of how Cal and them played, they just played ball.
Not a lot of off-ball moving, not a
Right.
lot of off-ball screening, not a lot of that. And now you're seeing
now
it.
you're
with Pope.
seeing a team
and
that
it's different.
is being led by mostly upperclassmen. I mean, you did obviously get Travis Perry playing a little bit in the game as a backup, but for the most part, they played all experienced players.
Yeah.
And outside of, I think Brandon Garrison's probably the youngest guy on their team.
Yeah.
And it showed in their sophistication of what they did and kind of how they played, but it also showed for Louisville being undermanned. Not having a big man presence at all in this game. I texted Presley this last night. Are you ready for this statistic? I don't know if you know this.
Let's hear it.
James Scott had 0 rebounds yesterday.
0
rebounds.
Yeah.
That's a problem for your starting center. And
shout out to Noah Waterman.
that was literally gonna be the next thing I said. Is as much as the fans, including us, like to give Noah Waterman a hard time for what feels like playing very little defense and shooting the ball as much as he can. Noah Waterman rebounded, particularly on the offensive glass yesterday, like a madman.
Double-double, 12
I mean, he
points,
was
12
just like-
rebounds.
He would be at the 3-point line and then would just it was like he levitated
He had
into the
6
paint.
offensive rebounds and 6 defensive
And
rebounds.
He also tapped out plenty others to Javon Hadley. Like he was active.
Even if we didn't get him, he was still trying to be active on him as well.
From just the big man standpoint, Louisville got nothing. They got nothing. And this game really wasn't played through the bigs at all. Like late in the game, I couldn't believe that.
James Scott only played 12 minutes.
Yeah, he had 4 fouls. And it felt like in 5 minutes. I kept thinking it's only a matter of time before Mark Pope says, "All right, let's get the ball into Mari Williams and just back them down," because he kept hitting that move. He had those 2 buckets over his left shoulder where he would post up and then
it didn't look very pretty, but
it didn't. But it went in, right?
Yeah,
and that's because when you're posting up a 6'10", 6'11",
and you're shooting it.
Javon Hadley
You're pretty
can only put his
comfortable down
hands
there.
up so high, right?
Exactly.
So I thought they'd go to the post up more often, but really, I mean, it was just
Louisville kind of fronted that a little bit. They didn't allow the ball to get into the post a lot, and I think that Javon Hadley did a really good job. They were getting him in a mismatch a little bit. That's the caveat, right? If you're fronting the post and you're switching on everything, you're going to end up with a mismatch down low.
Yeah.
But when
then you get the over the top lofted pass
Yeah,
if you're out of position.
But when Javon was defending him 1-on-1, I thought he did a really good job. There were a lot of possessions late where UK had a chance to kind of push things open, and Louisville had a really just solid defensive possession. Missed shot. They just ultimately they couldn't get over that hump. They got it down to 3 multiple times. They had multiple shots to get it from 5 to 2, and they just couldn't get over that hump. And I think part of that, it's a depth thing.
It is.
I think if you could run 1 or 2 more guys out there, for instance, if Kason Pryor is in this game and Lamont Butler is not, Louisville wins this game.
You know who else they could put in that slot? And you could probably say the same thing. As crazy as this is going to sound, Cater Traore. That's a guy that could have given Lamont Butler a hell of a lot of problems defensively.
Right. He defends the 1 through 4 really well.
She would have had him for 15 minutes yesterday.
Same with Corn Johnson. That's the one guy, him and Traore, I walked away saying, even more so than Case and Pryor, is if you had them, you probably win this game.
100%. I don't like to go dwell into those kind of ifs because we knew we didn't have them.
Right.
And this is what our team is. And it's not like if they were temporary injuries, I'd say I'd be my starting point for everything I have to say is they're lucky we didn't have Case and Pryor like we're going to have in 2 weeks from now or something like that.
Right.
They're gone. We know we don't. We knew what we had to go into this.
This is what you got.
What your personnel was. You knew what your philosophy was. But, fellas, you also knew what the expectation was for a James Scott.
Yeah.
And I hate to say this, I don't think we got enough. Kanai didn't score.
Yeah.
Kanai didn't score. He had 1 rebound, 1 assist, no steals, no blocks.
And arguably the most important turnover in the game.
Yes. And when you're not out there active, getting deflections, getting steals, getting blocks, getting offensive rebounds, getting those tip outs, and he was trying to be active on the tip outs when he was in. He wasn't offering enough. and you got the crazy turnover right there at a crucial point.
Yeah,
Right. That's a freshman. That's being a freshman. That's being a freshman at the end of a big away game.
Yeah, looked like Jack Plummer out there.
Exactly.
Just threw the ball way underthrew him. I mean, you can't. Safety could have read that from 100 miles away.
It was left-handed, one hand left-hand pass.
But the pass, whoever passed it to him, put him in a terrible spot. If you remember, because they threw it into the corner. They didn't trap him, but he had to kind of sky up to catch it. And then
they let the defender recover.
He was able to
he was actually open when the pass was put open to him.
Just a bad pass.
It was a skip pass, I believe, over a defender.
And we're kind of bouncing all over, but one of the things that I thought offensively for this team really stood out, there's so many different ways you could go despite a loss, but one of the things that was really interesting to me is the assist numbers. They ended up stacking those a little bit late in the second half. Chucky ended up, I think, having 5 and leading the team.
Yes.
But they only had 1 assist at halftime. And I think had 2 assists probably 10 minutes into the second half.
Way too much ISO ball.
But what I'll say, that's correct. But what I'll say is you finally got guys that showed they could do that. I mean, Terrence Edwards, as much as he struggled around the rim, and man, I don't understand the confidence for him when he has an open shot. He's like, no, I'm gonna make it a lot more difficult by just waiting a second.
It's like he enjoys the timing of getting a guy with his hand in his face.
Yeah, here's my thing.
He's not a spot up shooter.
I think he knows he's finally catching on how slow his release is.
Yeah, his release is
wait
so
a minute,
slow.
He's double questioning if he has enough time to get his shot off.
I can see it. Right. Has he been blocked once this season or something doing that? Yeah, that's what I wonder. He came off the rails for that.
I think
it's weird that you're in year 5 figuring this out, Terrence, but I get this is a new pace of play for you. It's a new level of athletes and defensive intensity. So
if you remember the start of the West Virginia game, I think Louisville had 7 shot attempts and 5 of them were blocked. And I think that was a big, they're learning and adjusting on the fly, right? Like this is not what you expected. You didn't expect to make this. This wasn't supposed to be a half-court team. This is not how the team was built. That's not how they played in the preseason. That's not how they practice. That's not what Pat Kelsey's philosophy is. And so they're adjusting on the fly. And all credit to Kelsey and the staff for making these needed adjustments. Yeah. I mean, we had a lot of criticisms after the Duke game, right? Because they tried to play, although Pat Kelsey said that they made adjustments, they still tried to play that speeded up style of game. Mm-hmm. And Duke they had more guys. They had the legs to ultimately just wear Louisville down towards the end of the game. Yep. They played complete opposite of that against Kentucky. They knew that they had to slow this game down because Kentucky's a team that scores over 90 points a game. They did again on Saturday night. I was really impressed with all the adjustments they made. I was impressed with Noah Waterman being coachable and being the guy that Louisville needs him to be. Like initially,
he still was making some really dangerous
4 from 12 from the field.
Late.
We need a little better from 4 for 12. 6 for 12.
Say,
Can you go 6 for 12? No,
that's step back.
But the 3 from 9 from 3 is a better sign. Yeah, the free throws he what did he shoot? 50%.
What is that? 33
he only shot 1 for 2. I thought he was 2 for 4.
Yeah,
it's better than what it's been.
I'll take it. Yeah, it's been like 15%.
It's been 1 for 7. So
that's step back, behind the back, step back. Right,
that was nice.
I don't know who was contending him, but man, that is Noah's water. That is New York Noah.
That's New York Noah, for
that's
sure.
New York Noah.
That's the Noah we brought in to be.
That shot with how he shot all year is like. That's how you know he doesn't have a backup. Like, Coach, I'm not coming out, and I'm just going to keep shooting.
Yeah,
like Frank is
sitting. But it's also a good sign that Noah's out there not passing up. I mean, that wasn't an open look, but he's not out there not buying into the system still because he wasn't hitting shots.
Noah's never seen a shot. He doesn't.
11 games in, shooting whatever he's shooting from 3 for the year, under 30%.
It's like 27%, something like that, man.
He's still shooting. Numbers. He's still shooting as confidently as game 1, right?
Yeah.
So
that's all you can ask for.
Shooters shoot, man. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fellas, I just want to address, at the end of the day, you went into a road game, your first true road game in one of the most hostile environments in the country, one of the hardest places to play for any team as an away game.
There won't be a more hostile environment.
There won't be. And not only that, it's your rival. Yeah. Not only that, it's year 1 of the new era for both programs.
And not only that, but you got a top 5 Kentucky team, right? Whose only loss is to Clemson.
This was always going to be a very, very, very big performance. And you guys saw the line. It was 10.5. It did weirdly drop to 9.5 right before tip off.
Vegas is good.
But Vegas is good. They
Vegas
almost
is good, man. Vegas is good.
They are. They knew something was up. They knew the game would be a sliver closer than whatever. Lamont Butler went on to have his best basketball performance of his career.
Yeah.
Well,
Which
statistically,
kudos to him.
One of the best performances in the last 10 years
Of a Louisville, Kentucky basketball
of
game?
any player in college basketball, period.
Just in terms of
because he didn't miss
efficiency.
he didn't miss a single three, right?
Efficiency-wise,
Yeah,
he was
shot over 70%.
unbelievable. And so the game plan, right? Louisville stuck to the game plan. Lamont Butler is not an efficient three-point shooter, and they decided to play, closer up on Kobe Brea, double sometimes, get him away from taking spot up open threes, and for the most part, did a really good job of that. There was one crucial three where Rain Smith went under a screen, and then there wasn't enough recovery time. Like, you can't just let him catch and shoot. But ultimately, the result is that you allow Lamont Butler to take more open shots, and he was making every shot. And that, he'd made 7 threes going into the game and made 5 threes, 6 threes,
7 on the season, and he went into halftime with 5 or before like the 15 point in the third quarter. He was already at 5 3-pointers in the game. He finished with 7 threes on the season. He matched his season total in this game.
Yeah.
And you're right. You're both right. Lamont Butler is on the scouting report out of their guards. Who you want?
The one that you want shooting
taking
threes.
the open shots.
Right.
On the you give up a offensive rebound, that's who you want the kick out to go to if it is going to be a 3-pointer. It's Lamont Butler.
So you stuck to the
Here's
game
my
plan.
issue though.
Yeah.
After 3 makes, I don't care who it is.
You got to respect him.
I don't care who it is. If it's Yao Ming, Shaquille O'Neal, I don't care. Go grab his jersey.
Right.
Right.
The law is the first one is, all right, I'm going to let that slide. Second one is, okay, you got me.
You've proved it. The third one shouldn't go in.
Third one, that's not happening.
The third one shouldn't go in. But if it does,
then I'm really clamping
you're
down.
in that jersey. You should
Coach,
not. we're
running a box and one.
And I get there was a couple good cut on the. He hits 2 in a row.
Yeah.
To go for his third make and his fourth make, and then the fifth make is like a double cut. They cut and then somebody else cuts, and the help defender follows, and now Lamont Butler is on the wing after making 2 in a row, wide open or near the top of the key.
That's an ocean to him at that point at the rim. I mean,
he was shooting it from anywhere he caught that. That doesn't matter where he caught it or where he was on the court. It's the fact that where's the mental awareness to know that that's the hottest hand in the building at the very second.
Right. And it's what's funny is late in the game, mid to second half to the end of the game, they started running Kobe Brea off the line like it was nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, they were closing out so hard.
Yeah.
You got to get
to where he was putting the ball on the floor every time he got it. He was not
exactly
having any airspace.
Exactly right. Finished with 10 points. He honestly, it felt like he could have had 30. In terms of how he was shooting. He only missed, I think, 1 or 2 threes, and they were wide open threes where he.
And one was super deep. He made the one that was pretty deep.
He's not good.
But you can tell when Lamont shoots, it's like that's not a fluid shooter right there.
So
that's someone he needs all the space in the world, and he needs to have made the last couple to continue shooting, and that's exactly what he was doing. The hard part about watching Lamont Butler and those 3-pointers go in is that it felt like after the first few, it's not like he was just every 3 minutes hitting one. It's like we would get a stop, we'd get a bucket, we'd come down, we'd force a turnover, we'd force a bad shot and a 3-tip rebound that we, take us 10 full seconds to get the rebound. And then we'd come down, we had just scored, we got to stop, we'd come down again, we'd shoot a bad shot now.
Right.
We'd not try to get a good shot, not try to attack the basket. And then you let Lamont Butler get an open 3 down, and now you've just let it go from 6 back to 9.
Right, and that's what
was so killer for us.
It kept happening over and over. Yeah, that was the game, but that leads to kind of the next point that I'll go ahead and transition to is the credit that you have to give to Chucky Hepburn. Yeah, there for a while he kept Louisville in this game.
You did.
I mean, from hitting threes to getting inside. I don't know. Fix that. You got to give him credit, man.
Yeah.
You got to give him credit.
Chucky,
he was exhausted.
Yeah.
You could see it draining out of him literally, but the steals, the tips, the
bailouts when we needed a bucket. I mean, he got forced into a couple tough positions. I think he had two of his 3-pointers. He had 4 threes, I believe, and 2 of them were like, I didn't think they were going in. He had to shoot it. You know what I mean?
It was the one in the corner.
Into the shot clock and then the step back.
Yeah, I mean,
they both went in. So you commend Chucky. I mean, we wouldn't have been there without him. We wouldn't have had a chance. He gave us he kept us alive. Terrence Edwards, I mean,
What do you think about that?
I feel like Rashawn talked about it yesterday on the radio. I feel like Mike mentioned it throughout the week. He has this unorthodox way of going about being the scoring option when he is in Pat Kelsey's system, I believe. I think it took Terrence Edwards to I think Pat Kelsey's system has a system where the second shooting option and the third shooting option are just as much of a green light as the first, you know, or even the fourth.
Right.
And he either was having to figure out if it was his turn to, if it ended up to me here, but I was the third option. Am I still supposed to shoot this shot right now?
Right.
And I think that's where a lot of the hesitation from Terrence Edwards came in the beginning of the season, because this is 3 consecutive games now where he's clearly got his head on straight, or something's going on out there where he's
way better. Way better.
I don't even want to call it a confidence thing, because he was taking the shots before. They just were. Why are you taking that shot?
Right.
You just dribbled into double coverage to take that shot, and then the last possession you had the wide open 3 and didn't take. I don't understand the decision making. He was still shooting; it just wasn't great shots. And now he seemed to have, at least what it is a more confident understanding on when he should be finding his spots. Yeah, right. That's all you hoped for. We prayed and begged for him to figure something out in this system.
And to your point, right? Like, he knows what he's supposed to be now, and I think he's comfortable with his role now. 23 points, 5 for 7 from deep.
Is this his third consecutive 20-point game?
It is. Yeah. 21, 22, 23.
And that's really what he was brought here to be. You know, I think that the coaching staff for a couple of games without, your primary backup point guard and Corin Johnson, they tried to make Terrence Edwards that. He had 0 assists against Kentucky.
Right.
He was Terrence Edwards.
When he got the ball in his hands, he had to score. Yeah. And the other thing about Terrence Edwards was he had 13 points in the first half and did not score another point until at least the 8-minute mark of the second half. It's not. He took over when Chucky started to kind of like teeter out, which is great. But at the same time, you need him to attack, and then he gets that. You got to have a balance.
Yeah. Well, that's true. He did get the foul. But
he came back in, and he was I tweeted, I hope this pisses him off. Like having to go sit down. That foul was a ticky-tacky result of a turnover.
First offensive possession after he gets in.
Right.
He ends up on the wing, kind of like with a big air pocket. He's clapping up. Like, did you see?
He wants the ball.
He wanted the ball back.
Wants the ball.
You know, he was.
But he scored baseline on a layup right there on that possession, if I'm not mistaken.
The next possession, I believe.
And that's the one where
we didn't score that possession. We come down, he gets the ball, he gets the bucket.
I mean, I think he's a really good player. I think that the thing that when you look at this team, the reason why I think that there is still a higher ceiling, even with the injuries that they have, is because he is not playing super efficient. He missed a lot of layups yesterday.
Yeah.
He's missed a lot of layups really for the whole season. And I think as he starts to go into the ACC, it's going to go one of two ways. He'll start to deal with more physicality, and he's going to kind of peter out, or he's going to start to kind of absorb this and become, stronger,
I think he's going to
stronger, right? And figure out how to score in the ACC. He's a methodical player. So is Carly Jones.
Yeah.
Carly Jones got buckets in the ACC. Now, I'm not comparing them. I'm just saying Terrence Edwards.
There's a comparison, though. They've got their own pace of play. Right. They've got this weird.
It looks off.
They keep the dribble alive a little bit longer when they're attacking the basket than the normal player does.
Right.
They've got kind of good pivots and movements with the ball and things of that nature. Obviously, they're different sizes, and I feel like Carleek was even a little bit just all around more fundamental.
And he's a lot tougher.
Who was the back? Was it Le'Veon Bell for the Steelers? Where they would hand it off, and sometimes he'd wait for that hold open up.
He would kind of jump around.
Fully stop. Fully pause.
That's Terrence Edwards' game, right? Like, he's methodical. He's a prodder. I think, the perfect example is late in the first half, Louisville's fighting to kind of stay in this thing. I think it was like a 4 or 6 point game. And you get Terrence Edwards driving baseline. You have 3 guys collapse on him, and he just waits for, the opponent knows that he can pass the ball to the open man, so they have to respect that. He waits for the guy to kind of shift his shoulders a little bit, gets in there, and then he ultimately has an open, kind of like 4 or 5 foot.
Yeah. So I'm obviously by no means comparing myself to Terrence Edwards, but I was a decent basketball player in high school. And one of the things as a smaller guy that had more weight than most guys, my position is one of the things I was really good at was being able to kind of like get by you by putting a body on you. And then I know you're going to catch back up. But then from there, I was really good at reading. Okay, I know how to make it look like I'm going to pass the ball. So I'm going to feed his guy into me and then either draw a foul or kick it back out, or I'm going to make it look like that and then go in and get the foul. And that's what Terrence Edwards does a really good job of.
He's very good at it.
He can get up in the air after being completely out of control, but find a way to kind of collect himself and use his strength to make a bucket. Right?
Yeah.
So that's where I think that he really showed a lot of resourcefulness yesterday. And really did a great job of keeping Louisville in it. But there's still so much room defensively. He's got to step it up.
His first bucket was exactly how you just described.
Yeah, I mean, he's great at
where
it.
he comes in on the left side of the baseline.
Yes.
He has to put the body into him.
And then kind of like leans back.
And then go up with the floater.
And he catches it in the air. Right. And so I think that hopefully my point is we've seen his game this year. He's played the point guard. He had a game in the Bahamas, I think, where he had 6 or 7 assists.
Yeah.
We've seen him rebound in games. We've seen him score. Now we need him to put it all together.
We've seen him defend well, too, which is why I don't like it when I'm not watching. The off-ball defending is so –
right.
If the person he's guarding, his first step is too quick, now he's all of a sudden he's not a good defender.
Right, exactly. Right, going for the back tips and things like that. I'm going to circle back here a little bit to the tenacity and physicalness of this game. What were your all's thoughts on both of the Brandon Garrison incidents? You have the double Mike Tyson punch in the first half, which looks like a celebration in theory, but I mean, my man connected with one punch to the fro and then an elbow to the back of the head.
After you've already gotten past him.
Right, which was very intentional, and that's where it looked like, I mean, that to me, like, even though in game time you didn't see it, the video is as egregious as the DeMarcus Cousins elbow to Jared Swapshire. Now that one connected. If he had connected either one of those, we would have had a brawl that quick into the game. I mean, it would have been, we're fighting. But what about the second one is really the more kind of where the spiciness starts, because he gets,
which was a 2-and-1. There was really like
3-and-1.
Yeah.
He gets tangled up. He definitely slapped Rain Smith.
He mugs his head.
He definitely like
face into the ground.
Face palmed him. Yeah. And then definitely the thing that I noticed was that there's a point in the bench where they were tangled up, but then something switches and everyone from Louisville goes from like just kind of like this to like, hey, like
he had to like grab a hold of somebody.
There's
or something.
a video I saw today, another angle where he steps on Rain Smith, like very clearly is like grabbing Kanai, but is trying to step on Rain. So that's where the bench kind of comes out and is ready to go.
I could tell by Kanai's face that Kanai was ready to throw a punch.
Right.
You could tell he was like winding up. He was pretty much winding up for it. And then who was it? Someone's reactions, like something changed.
Yeah.
Someone was like, yo.
And then all of a sudden you see Mark Pope coming. Because
the commotion had already
that's Mark Pope's music.
The commotion had already started. Yeah, he comes out of nowhere and tries to grab Garrison over Pat Kelsey.
Which looks like he's putting Pat Kelsey in the bucket.
And it's like he grips Garrison and he does what he's trying to do. But in doing so, he's got a little Pat like right here in his arm pocket and is like grabs around and pulls Garrison. And he pulls Garrison and Pat out of the thing basically at the same time.
It was kind of like that. You remember when David Padgett was the coach and then they destroyed Indiana and what was Indiana's coach's name at the time? Archie Miller.
Yeah.
He comes in and he pulls the mic down.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's almost like a skit on SNL or something.
Right. Like,
but it was kind of like that when I saw them shaking hands before the game. I mean, Mark Pope's what, 6'8", 6'9", and Pat Kelsey's
like 5'6",
maybe 5'8". Yeah, like
5'7", maybe.
Yeah. And the fact that you have a bunch of tall people around you doesn't really
help
you very much. But I love the caption that you reposted, Jacob, where a UK fan like took a screenshot of Mark Pope like pushing Pat Kelsey out of the way, and he's like, "Go to sleep, little one," or something like that.
It's so good.
He's like, "Good game, little guy," or something like that.
Okay, but from a Kentucky fan's perspective, though, I saw a lot of people saying that Louisville was being dirty in that instance, or that all the fans were booing and upset. Did you guys see anything that would have been indicative of?
Kanai was holding him up. I mean,
they were.
Kanai was trying to prevent himself from getting pushed further back
into the seat.
He was getting like
while
pushed
also
into the
like
fans.
trying to let this guy know you're not about to push me back.
And if you go back to the video, you got this fan in like the third row, double L's down, his shirts and L's down. Like, I mean, my man is full on.
He's ready to be involved in the ruckus himself.
But in all seriousness, if that starts a scrum right there, that could very easily turn into a Ron Artest.
With that close to the bench,
it
would have been really bad.
I think that's what Mark Pope kind of saw.
It's like they saw it,
in
real
saw
time. Yeah,
I mean, everybody's got that look in their eyes.
Everybody being that close, one punch would have been turned into multiple punches.
And that's also the same video where he like tickled his chin a little bit, right? Did y'all see that today? Of I don't know if you've seen this, but they kind of there's now all these angles people are kind of going back and watching on their TV. And there's an angle where Garrison has Kanai's face, but kind of like is like, I don't know if he's trying to slap him, but he kind of like tickles him a little bit. It's like a claw.
He does
almost.
like
where his hands a little
it's
bit.
just like
I saw that.
Tickles his chin.
I saw that. Yeah, I did see that.
It's wild that you see that stuff come out.
There was a few different moments. Kentucky, I mean, what's funny about this rivalry is regular, small, dirty basketball things, which that couldn't even be an oxymoron. Regular, like things in basketball that are like he grabbed my arm as he was the offensive player grabbed the defensive player's arm to sell the draw. That happens in all across basketball in every single game.
It's more chippy.
But we're gonna point it out and post the screenshots of it on social media and be upset at it. That's just the epitome of the rivalry.
Was it Brandon Walker or somebody UK related posted that and they're like, yeah, they weren't, Louisville was clamoring for a offensive foul on this, and I'm like, well, he is holding the guy's arm down, that's what you're taught to do, right? Like if if
you feel the reach and foul coming, you sell it.
Exactly. Yeah. If a guy's trying to take your cookies, essentially you grab his arm.
Yeah.
The ref can't see that, and so they're going to call the foul. And that's exactly what happened.
And
I do think it's funny though that people try to point that out as like that's a dirty move or it was definitely a foul on Louisville. It's something that happens a lot. It's just more exacerbated.
Could point to like 6 things that were dirtier than that happened in the game. But one of the funniest things to me, speaking of selling calls, like Noah Waterman my man needs to get into acting after his basketball career is over because he can sell a foul. Right. New York Noah, Broadway Noah. Like that's going to be Noah when he starts selling fouls. It's Broadway Noah. But the travel, which wasn't a travel, was purely him trying to anticipate getting that contact.
He wants the N1. He wants the N1 there.
Yeah, he wants that. And then like flies backwards. Like he doesn't even go up to get the foul. He leans back. Like it's things like that the refs were kind of baiting and waiting for them to get into that. So they could call that.
One ref, I feel like they gave them the do-over on the throw-in.
Yeah, what was up with that?
Is that not a lane or
when we get mulligans in
inbound violation? Man? Is that not a violation there?
As far as I know,
it is.
Well, unless I think there's like an age where like they won't call it like maybe like
it's
7,
a do-over after
7,
like before 6th grade. It's a do-over.
They went into 7, 8-year-old basketball.
After the 6th grade year, you call that.
Come on back, Lamont. Do it again.
Come on, that's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Like the Dangadell out of bounds thing.
Right. If only we could have gotten the mulligan then.
Here's what I will say though. For both sides of this game, the referees were lost in the moment.
Yes.
Oh, sure.
They couldn't get anything right to save their lives. They were trying to be in control, and in doing so, not getting it right, switching calls. The older black ref, I feel like if he felt like he disagreed, he just wanted to.
They disagreed 3 or 4 times.
Like 3 times in a row is in our favor. Then he started switching shit up.
And then the switch on James Scott and Kanai Ruth switch. I mean, the foul was.
It was definitely on Scott.
And not to go back to James Scott, but you saw a little bit of his immaturity in this game. Obviously, you said he played 12 minutes, no rebounds. But one of the things is when you have 4 fouls,
you saw he was a sophomore.
You can't come in and start hand fighting and pushing when when you're not close enough to get a rebound and you start to get a little frustrated, so you push.
Trying to throw a little elbow out there.
You can't do that. That's what he did late in the game. Like he came right back in, and it's like, "All right, James, you like Pat's
foul on a rebound."
Pat's walking him to the scorer's table, and he's like, "All right, man, we're gonna go in. We're gonna play physical, but we're not gonna foul." Mm-hmm. James like, "All right, I got you, coach." 2 seconds later,
throwing elbows.
Like, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it was literally one play. One play, he got in there, and it's not like Kentucky even had a chance to try to draw a foul on him. He just did it. Which it's one thing in this rivalry game when you have 3 or 4 guys that can come off the bench and replace him,
right?
But when that is your only option, you cannot foul there.
Pat is like, please don't make me play Frank. Yeah. Guys, please don't make me play Frank.
I still don't understand. I don't understand.
Come on, man. It's beyond obvious. He's just like, unless he's injured, there's no reason with this roster where you're at that you're not playing everybody. Like he just at least give the man a couple fouls, right?
I think that's
let him have just Brandon Garrison. Like let him be the enforcer that comes in and says to Brandon Garrison, "You're not doing that."
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like I'm only going to play 2 minutes in this game. If I get suspended, whatever it is, what it is. But before we kind of put the bow on this, I'm curious. Did you all have any bets this weekend? Presley, did you get into Underdog? Find anything this weekend?
I didn't have anything that I liked, just because with it being a rivalry game, specifically with Louisville and Kentucky, wasn't super into that. But I
had one.
What'd you get?
You had one?
Underdog. They made a mistake.
Yeah.
Our boys over Underdog thought that our lovely friend Terrence Edwards was only going to score 13.5.
So you went the higher on that.
I went higher on Terrence Edwards, and we cashed it.
There we go, man. That might be one of the first cashes that we mostly have failed.
It's been failures.
Well, here's the thing. It's not for Underdog, right? It's not their problem because
No, they've just gotta pick the
I'm an
set line.
egotistical guy, right? They give me the option to flex, and I can take 2 out of my 3 legs and run with my money. But I'm too greedy.
Too
I need
prideful.
all 3 or 4 of those parlay legs. So I go in thinking I'm gonna hit this.
Yeah.
It's gonna be higher. It's gonna be lower.
Well,
I would, if I had gotten in on this one, I would have probably been looking for higher or lower on Noah Waterman 3s. And I would have gone higher, which would have splashed.
Same with his rebounds.
Yes.
I think that we just knew he was going to be trying to lock in energy, have high energy in this game. I'm sure his rebounds, he doesn't get hard. He averages like 3.5.
He doesn't rebound at all.
His
But
rebounds
this
would
one,
have been like 3.5 or 4.5, and I would have took that.
Yeah, he had like 6 late in the second half.
Yeah,
I will say on Underdog, we're definitely locked in like it's postseason, guys.
Yeah.
That's why our team at State of Louisville, Starting 502 Podcast, myself and thousands of others are using Underdog Fantasy. Underdog is the best place to cash in on all your takes this basketball season, which players are going off, which ones are ice cold. You make your picks in just a few taps, turn your sports opinions into real money. It's super easy. You can win up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on player stats like points, blocks, steals, and much more. Not to mention, Underdogs offers great games and rewards as you bet. With Underdog Rescues, you can get your money back and receive a promo if an early injury causes your entry to lose. Jacob, you should really be listening up here.
Okay, you got me.
Underdog is the best place to play Pick'em, so sign up and deposit now using promo code STARTING5. It's all one word, STARTING, F-I-V-E, to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Not to mention, Underdog will be running specials, promos, and bonuses almost every single day, including profit boosts, discounts, free picks, and much, much more. Higher or lower, you make the call on Underdog. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply, void in Colorado. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.npcgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, which is 1-800-639-8783, or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369. We'll throw it to a quick commercial break. Mr. and Mrs. is for everyone, from a more traditional 90 proof to a cash string that's smoother. In 2013, Russ going to the hole, and boy, could you use that right now. Mr. and Mrs. Bourbon covers tastes, all different taste and preferences, 6 different bourbons that they're offering. Be among the first to try Mr. and Mrs. Bourbon, the official bourbon of the State of Louisville and the Starting 502 podcast, on shelves anywhere you find your liquor, and now online at mrandmrsbourbon.com.
All right, last bit here of the show. What do we think? Not looking too far ahead. We don't even need to get into Florida State, but just thinking about what you saw against Kentucky.
How do we feel going forward?
Is this a tournament team?
I'm ready. Yeah, that sounds good.
I think with Kadir, I think that Kadir could.
Because he's not going to add scoring, but they don't.
No.
That's not the
He's
problem.
going to give us
a little
6
bit.
points a game.
Yeah.
Right. What
He's going to leak out in transition. He's going to. I don't think he was a great free throw shooter in the time we got to see from him, but he's aggressive.
We do
know
him
that
defensively because he can guard 1 through 4.
Yes,
right? And even can spell Noah a little bit at the not for long periods, but he can be your death ball. Draymond 5.
Yeah, and I will say too, it helps that the schedule is much more favorable going forward. Like, thank God we're not in the SEC. Louisville's played 4 SEC teams. They've lost all of them. 0-4 against SEC teams.
2 of which at home.
Tennessee, number 1 in the country. It
number
is what it is.
3 defense in the country.
Yeah. And then on top of that, Kentucky, number 5 in the country. Mississippi, have they lost a game since?
No, they're ranked 19th now.
Yep.
Been playing without some of their key players.
Who else are we missing? Oklahoma.
Yeah,
it feels weird to call them SEC, but yeah, Oklahoma's still undefeated.
But I was looking at their schedule. They have not played any. I mean, outside of Arizona was kind of like their marquee win outside of Louisville, but Arizona just lost to UCLA yesterday.
Who I was going to say, he's clearly a little overrated this year.
Yeah, yesterday was a big day for some of the former U of L guys. Scott Clark had a big day against. We were just talking about who they played. Oh, goodness, my mind
UCLA.
they played. Goodness gracious, we were literally
Arizona.
Thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
He had a big day, and then Trey White played really well for them against Illinois, at least scoring, rebounding.
Illinois against Tennessee.
Against Tennessee, yeah.
Look, Kenny Payne had some talent on the roster.
JJ Traynor had 7 points yesterday.
Off the bench.
Yeah,
balling for
25 minutes for DePaul.
I don't mean to derail here, but DePaul has a kid that I really want for Louisville's roster next year, and we're getting into the freaking poaching.
No,
the
You're gonna
team
have to
is
say
great.
this one, Jacob.
This
Who is it? Tell me his
this
name.
is our son here, Jacob
The
Meyer.
Jacob Meyer.
Oh,
Jacob
Jacob
Meyer,
Meyer.
the,
Yeah, we
the
need
kid
him.
from
We
Covcat,
need
I
him.
believe is where he played at, or maybe he's from Owensboro, but he's
He's
from
a
Kentucky.
shooter.
He's their leading scorer. He's come off the bench in every game and has scored in double figures every game. He started this past one. I think they beat VCU yesterday or Wichita State.
Wichita State. Yep.
Yeah, and he was their starting two guard. He's splashy, man.
Might have to inquire about him. Might have
Yeah,
to
U of L got involved with him for a little bit, but yeah.
be like, hey,
but-
cuz.
I'm going to speak out for the Meyer family name and just clearly he got the height gene that I didn't get, but whatever.
He also
I
got
mean,
the scoring gene, all the good-looking gene.
yeah,
all
he
that
got it
stuff.
all. He got it all. I don't know what
The
happened.
hair
to me.
gene. He's not balding. yet.
I'm just sitting and talking about basketball to you guys. I don't know what's going on.
But yeah,
no,
I think that going forward,
Yeah.
Cater will offer something defensively to
He
this
gives
team
them
that it's going to help a lot
They
in the
need
ACC play.
At
And
least just spell guys.
what he can do as a ball handler as well. I'm not saying he's going to go out there and run point, but the fact that he can put the ball on the floor, not necessarily he kind of was a little turnover prone, but he's not just some guy that can't dribble. You know what I mean?
He
And
plays well above his size.
he can get the rebound, push the
He
break. You
handles the
know,
ball. Yeah, I mean I think that they saw him as an emergency point guard option because he can bring the ball up the
Yeah.
floor. He has
play
tighter
through him
handles.
at least.
Yeah.
Right.
you
play
can play
through
through
him.
him. You don't
And-
need him trying to be a scoring option off the
No.
dribble from the perimeter.
You
but
get him the ball at the top of the
Exactly.
key, set up the offense through
Exactly.
him, and then in games like
maybe
against,
get him a screen or two, see if you can
Yeah.
open up
and
somebody
a
on
lot
the
of
opposite
backdoor
side.
cuts. But the game
Exactly.
against Syracuse, he's going to, assuming he's healthy. I don't know. I think the first one is fairly early, but like he's going to be a guy that you plug right there at the top of that 2-3 zone,
Mhm.
and you just get him the ball and let him throw it
Yeah.
all over the court.
Yeah.
Like great passer.
Well, so here's the main thing that stands out to me, guys. Right? Like you look at the Kentucky game. Here's how Kentucky played 9 guys. 27 minutes, 32, 31, 30 minutes, 16, 26, 24, 7, 8.
Yeah.
That's how you want to manage minutes, right?
Yep. That's why
And
they were
then-
able to out rebound us. That's why they had more energy at the end of the game.
Right,
Louisville-
because Ansley Alomar might not have been in there to score, but he definitely is going to put an elbow in Terrence Edwards, right? Like,
Right.
going to use Travis Perry was out there to hopefully try to free up some threes and get him going off a
Yeah.
little bit. But
So Louisville played 7 guys, and basically their main 5 played the bulk of the minutes. So you had Kanai played 13 minutes,
and that's
James
fair.
Scott played 12 minutes, and then everybody else played
30
well
plus.
over 30.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you got Terrence Edwards played 30, and he would have played more if he wasn't
He
in
wasn't
foul trouble.
yeah.
34, 39, 34, 38. You
Poor
cannot,
Chucky, man.
yeah, you cannot sustain playing that many minutes. And the only reason Chucky didn't play the full 40 is because he was in foul trouble.
Yeah.
So, I mean, ultimately, Kadir, what he brings is he can play 20 to 25 minutes and spell Javon Hadley. He can spell Chucky Hepburn. He can play at a lot of different positions and provide a lot of different things.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to play Noah Waterman, 36, 37 minutes, right? And I think that's crucial going forward. I think the thing for Louisville is they just can't, you can't lose to Florida State. You can't drop a game to, Virginia's just kind of dog water this year.
Right.
Like, you can't lose to Virginia Tech. You can't be dropping games to Florida State. You can't be dropping games to, I'm trying to think of
Boston
another
College.
Boston College.
Right.
There are some good teams at the top of the conference.
There are.
Duke is obviously really
Duke
good.
is the cream of the crop.
Already got that out of the way.
Right.
North Carolina is wishy-washy. Like, they've lost some games they shouldn't have
sitting
lost.
at 6-5 right now. They got
Yeah.
a big one, I think, on Wednesday night. They play maybe Illinois or somebody on ESPN.
Yeah,
They've been very inconsistent. Their best big man is Jalen Withers. So let that kind of sink in terms of trying to understand where they are.
let that sink in. Yeah,
Right.
at the top of the conference, you have Duke and Clemson,
That's it.
and then
You know who the number 3 team is right now?
who'd that be?
Stanford.
Yeah,
Because Stanford has the best player in the conference.
Man, talk to us about that.
That's going to be a real tough battle for Louisville when they have to play Maxine Raynaud. He is incredible, man.
He's incredible.
He's 7'2", can play outside, can score inside. I
Mhm.
cannot believe that somebody didn't come in and give that kid $2 million. Like, he is arguably
Yeah.
one of the best big men in the country. And
Yeah.
he plays for a Stanford team whose second best player is Jalen Blakes, who played at Duke for 4 years, and you probably don't even know who that is.
Nope.
No.
Right. That's Stanford this year for you. But those are the thing is about the rest of the conference. Like, that's a perfect kind of segue is you have the Clemsons and the Dukes and the North Carolinas, right? And even the NC States, right? The teams at the top. Where Louisville is going to have to make up the margin for these 5 losses early is by beating every one of the Miamis, Boston Colleges, the Cows.
Can't
SMU is
slip
going
up.
to be a challenge.
Can't slip up
even.
once.
Right.
There's going to be a lot of battles, but the fact that Virginia's down, NC State doesn't look to be as good as maybe we thought they'd be, and then some of the other teams in the ACC just are not great team. So Louisville has an opportunity to still be a tournament team, but they cannot lose to a Boston College. They cannot lose. They have to go undefeated in the quad 4 for the rest of the year. Yeah. And then they need to steal a game against North Carolina. They need to get a game against Clemson. They need to get a game against.
We need one of those teams that you just mentioned to be a little better.
Right, exactly. And then here's the
little better than playing.
The bright spot for the next 2 weeks. You have 2 games in 14 days. That is literally 1 game on a Saturday for the next 2 weeks. They got FSU next Saturday, EKU the following Saturday. That gives you the next 2 weeks.
Go lock in,
get healthy.
Go learn a 2-3 zone.
Here's big
figure out what your style of play is.
That's a good point. Learn a 2-3 zone and go get another player. Go find a kid that was going to reclass. The thing is they can go out and speak to the 25 class a little bit differently right now. Because if there's kids like a Jeremiah Fears who enrolled at Oklahoma, we can go out and get you at the halfway break and bring you in. And at least that's another body.
Yeah, even if you're only playing
international player,
6 minutes a game, that's something. That's something that you can spell somebody, and then worst case scenario, you have no Waterman and James Scott foul out, and you have to bring somebody in.
Yeah,
but at least you have somebody.
What about
at least it's not a walk on that's 6'3", 6'4".
Right? I think his name is Akora.
We have a
left the team against Kansas State.
The leg kid.
Yeah, but he looks like a guard to me. I don't know. I don't think he's a big guy. You need to get Hogan or Ball back. You remember him? Played a couple years ago?
Yeah, he did. He played for Indiana for a while.
Only big man walk-on that I can remember ever having. There's not very many big men walk-ons out there.
If you're over 6'9", 6'10", you're getting a scholarship.
That's the point. Yesterday is like if James Scott got hurt, like you're going to be calling Jeff Brom after the game, being like, "What offensive or defensive lineman Brooks do you have?"
Ja'Cory, you got another semester.
Yeah,
come on,
give me Josh Chichester.
Yeah, do you have any Josh Chichesters out there that we could borrow? So.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? Get out here. It's been a fun
fellas.
recap.
I think that's it. I mean, we've got it. It was a great performance for the circumstances. I feel like
I don't do.
I feel like
victories.
the defensively. Nope. I don't either.
Yeah.
I'm just saying going forward with what we wanted to see out of this team, so we can be confident into the ACC play going forward. We saw that we didn't walk into our first road game and get busted. So I'm feeling confident about what this team's going to be able to produce in the ACC play going forward.
Competitive in every game except for really the Tennessee game.
2 games.
Yeah, which second game of the year? That's just.
And Tennessee's really freaking good. Number 1 team in the country.
Yeah. That's that kind of stuff just happens.
Didn't they allow 60 points at halftime, like in the first half yesterday?
Because they played Illinois. I don't know because that game wasn't a very high
the final
game.
score was like 62-60.
Yeah, I was gonna say that it was a 1 or 2 point game.
Oh, okay, I don't know what I was hearing.
Yeah. Either way, though, going forward, you just got to find ways to beat the teams you're supposed to beat. You have 2 decent resume building wins. Like I think West Virginia and Indiana are going to be tournament teams. So you have 2 wins that are going to be quad 1, quad 2 wins under your belt for sure. And then, some of your non-conference wins could turn out I really liked UTEP. I thought UTEP's team was fantastic.
Yeah. They play Conference USA? They might be the best team in that conference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, UTEP right now is 6-4, but I mean, that's a team that can go and just run through that conference. They shoot the shit out of the ball. They defend really, really well. Like they defended at a super high level. They were super disruptive against Louisville. But yeah, I mean, Louisville's got to find its style of play ultimately, how they're going to make it through the end of the season. And then they need to pick off a couple of games that they're not supposed to win and win all the games that they're supposed to. You get to the end of the season, you have 3 or 4 quad 1 wins, 3 or 4 quad 2 wins. And I think, that's enough to build a tournament resume, but you got to get to 20.
Got to get 20.
20 wins, 21 wins, something
like that.
Put you at
20 and 12, right?
Yeah.
They play 32 games.
Yeah.
And then you got to go at least get 2 games in the conference tournament.
Yeah, so basically, going forward, you cannot lose more than 6 or 7.
I want you to win the
games.
conference tournament.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe you get hot, man. Who knows? Teams do it. Teams don't. Look at NC State last year. All it takes is just clicking at the right time. So,
a couple guys going off, and you absolutely have a couple of guys that have proven that they can be that for this team.
Yep.
So, until next time, gotta get out of here. Jacob Lane 08 on Twitter, at Press Meyer, at Romy Bean, at Starting 502, and of course the mothership at the State of Blue. Until next time, get out of here and go Cards.
Go Cards.